join us on Drink Up this Easter weekend. Thanks for taking time on your vacations. Super excited to have Brandon Crockett as co-host today. Brandon, welcome
Thanks for having
to
me again, Sam.
Drink Up, and then Paul Cullen. So, have you ever heard of Bad Company? Paul Cullen in the '90s was the bass guitarist with Bad Company. We were just talking about it before we went live. But Paul, welcome to Drink Up. Food, wine, music, travel. You're a jack of all trades. So tell us a little bit about who you are and why you would come on Drink Up.
Well, I'm a master juggler because I have all these things going on, and also I have a nonprofit. We help kids in the culinary and musical arts, so that's another thing in that big circle around Paul Cullen. Uh, well, like you said, I was the bass player in Bad Company in the early '90s, which was beyond amazing. Of course, to be on that level, um, even though it was a short period of time, 4 or 5 years, the experience was. Unimaginable if you haven't done it. So to be on that level and play in front of 8 to 50,000 people every night was pretty incredible.
Well, I was asking you earlier. I said, how that? So I told you I grew up in Bradenton, Florida. Like you
Yeah.
grew up in Fort
Mhm.
Myers area, and there's a story behind. I'm like, how did you get on board with Bad Company in
Yeah.
the '90s?
Well, we had a great band called the Boys of Summer in Fort Myers, and we played 6 nights a week, as much as we wanted to work, and we had some originals. So our local rock station started playing one of our songs, which was pretty cool because we didn't have a record deal, which is really hard to get played, on a major station if you don't have a deal. But they did, and then we would open up for uh, concerts that they were sponsoring, like REO Speedwagon and Styx and Molly Hatchet. Boys of Summer would open up. And because of that notoriety, we became popular with some of the rock stars that lived in that area. And one was Brian, who was the singer of Bad Company at the time. And then Brian Johnson from AC/DC and Cliff Williams from AC/DC. And so they would come out and see our band play because we had a really good band. And then they would sit in with us. And I just got in that circle of hanging out with those guys. I used to golf with Brian Johnson and his wife, and used to hang out with Cliff, the bass player. He had a studio in his house, and got
Oh,
invited to like,
you mentioned Greg Allman too. I was
yeah,
blown
yeah.
away because
So
Greg
Greg,
lived in Bradenton for
yeah, 'cause I
us.
used to play up there in Bradenton, Sarasota a lot too, and being that I was a musician from Fort Myers, I played every dive bar you could play in Florida. And yeah, Greg used to come out. We played a bar called the Playpen or the Playground in Sarasota, and he would just kind of show up and jump up and play some songs. Yeah,
That is that. So how long were you with Bad Company for?
almost 5 years.
Okay, and then you transitioned out of Bad Company to what you're doing now, or tell us a little bit about your journey, because we're obviously going to get into you're a chef, a som, a musician. You host dinners, you have your own wines, but so you transitioned from Bad Company. So what was that? What was that like?
Well, there was a pretty steep decline because once you play on that level, it's really hard not to play on that level. Like physically and mentally. Once you're used to doing that, it's not fun to go play a bar. And so it took me a couple years to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, and it actually happened when I moved to Delaware. I'm in Rehoboth Beach area in Delaware, and I came here on vacation, and I met who's now my wife, Bonnie, and I moved back 10 days later, I moved back 10 days later, and then I just kind of like I love cooking because I'm Italian on my mom's side, Taliaferro, and I'm the oldest grandchild of 30, and so I was the first one in the kitchen with my nonna, and so I've been cooking since I can remember. I mean, my first memories were in the kitchen with my grandmother, and then my mom was a great cook also, and so the way it all morphed into what I'm doing now is I used to have people over for dinner, and it was kind of like social networking before it was actually physical. Like we would invite couples over the house, and then they didn't know each other, and then by the time they were done with dinner, I would feed them, and then and pour some cool wines for them, And then it turned into this great night. And then I cooked for the right couple, and they said, "Hey, can you do this in our house?" So that was about 11 years ago, and I did my first in-home dining experience, is what we call it. I'm not a caterer because I actually go to your house and cook for you and tell you stories and pour my wines, and then I play music.
You break the guitar out too.
Yeah, yeah.
You were just showing your guitar earlier. You want to play a note to prove that you're like who you are? Is this really Paul Cullen? Is the question.
Let's see if I can.
All right, let's play a tune here. Here we go.
Baby, when I think about you, think about love. Darling, I can't live without you and your love.
I love it. Love
Not
it.
bad,
So
huh?
you break that out when people are just enjoying, like you walk around, play some music while they're talking, and
Actually, we do a concert at the end. So we
Okay.
get there about an hour to 2 hours before, do the cooking, get them ready, and get them all wind up, and then fed, and then afterwards we go by the fireplace or fire pit or whatever, and everybody surrounds me, and and I play music for them.
Can I ask? So I got a question coming in from Jeff, one of our friends out there. Hey Jeff, thanks for the question. He goes, I love the parallels with music and cooking. I'm a musician, and it seems that others are foodies as well. Do you see it as the desire to improvise to fulfill the same way?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I love that part of it. I don't even tell my people what I'm making. Like tonight, I'm cooking for 20. I'm not even sure what I'm making yet. So I'll kind of figure that out. Walk through the grocery store. We have a commercial kitchen because I have a concert venue, and so we store a lot of my stuff there. So I'll walk through and see what we have, and I've got one gluten free, so I'm gonna teeter on maybe doing something like risotto or polenta. So yeah, it's very very much like that, and also the other part is entertaining. I love to entertain. Whether it's on stage in front of 8,000 people or I cook for 20 people tonight, I'm the entertainer. Whether it's cooking or talking about the wine, and or playing music at the end.
How do people find you?
Yeah, they search personal chefs, private chefs. Yeah, I come up pretty high in the search engine for our area, and a lot of it, 90% of it's word of mouth. I read this quote one time: "Be remarkable at what you do," and that means be so good that people remark about what you do.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And it's so unique. I'm really fortunate because I don't really have any competition.
I have not experienced. Well, first of all, you were with Bad Company, which is awesome. So we got Brandon here. Brandon, I know I'm going to deem you as the thinker in place of Adam. So you and Paul have been working closely together, and you were sharing some news you wanted to share here today. There's something y'all are working on.
Yeah. So my job with Paul, as you know, I'm over with Rogan Rec Consulting, and basically it's all about brand awareness. So because Paul has an amazing story, he's got multiple businesses. We're trying to connect them all together. Obviously, with a little bit of a focus on the wine, but the in-home dining experience, his story, his travels. We were thinking about maybe doing some kind of podcast similar to this, where you're entertaining similar folks within the music industry and talking about different food and wine pairings. But Paul he's written a book about 8 years ago. Paul, and feel free to jump in, but I think it's time to revamp that book and maybe start doing a little bit of a book tour, updating of all the places he's been over the last 8 years, maybe the people that he served, maybe bring in some of his rock star friends as an element to that. And then we're just going to hopefully do some kind of book tour to really boost his visibility, his story, his wines, his in-home dining experience, all of the things combined, because it's one big package. It's not just Paul Cullen the chef, Paul Cullen the winemaker, Paul Cullen the rock star. There's a lot of meat there that I think.
Well, you're a Renaissance man, of sorts, right?
Yeah, I've been called that. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. No, I'm only kidding.
Well, I mean, you have expertise and talent in several areas. So what's What's the one thing you like when you go out and you do this with your clients? You know, like you come to my house and my friends. What is it that you're trying to convey? Like there's you have a purpose. So what is your what is your purpose? What is it that you want to when you leave? What do you want them to know?
Well, about them, there's lots of stories and lots of backstories.
Yeah.
Of course, my business is predicated off of that. I play with Bad Company. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I might be successful somewhat, but the whole driving force to start with, anyways, is that I played at Bad Company. Once I do a dinner for them, then now it's Paul Cullen, and they hire me. Like tonight, this is my third time I've cooked for this family. At their house in Bethany. But that's the backstory that people want to know about, right? They want to know what it's like to be a rock star, and then I have the backstory on the food. Either my grandmother taught me, or my visits to Italy, I learned, different dishes and techniques and all that, and I'm always learning. And then on the wine side, I have my own, and I know all the stories from the vineyards. The backstories at the vineyards that do my wines, because I've been there and drank with them and ate with them and hung out with them, so it's basically just it's a series of backstories for the 2.5 hours from when the guests get there till when we're done.
So they want to know about you, what it was like to be a rock star. So why don't we just go there for a few minutes? What was it like to be a rock star with Bad Company?
Well, it didn't suck. No, it's just like any profession that you make it to the pinnacle of your profession.
Yeah.
And that's what I got to do, It was a lot of hard work to get there. I didn't start playing an instrument until I was 20 years old. And because I was an athlete in high school. And then 10 years later, I was in Bad Company,
Wait a minute, you started playing a musical instrument at 20, and 10 years later you were playing for Bad Company.
Yeah.
There's a whole story there, by the way, in your book. In
Yeah.
terms of how that happens. I was like, did you go to Juilliard? Or
No. No, I
you're a
went
self-taught guitar player then?
Yeah, I just picked up bass and had a mentor help me to get to where I could play good enough to play in a band and make a living, which I did. Within 6 months or from when I picked up the bass, I was playing in a country band making $350 a week in 1980. And
I got another question coming in from Jeff, my friend. I'm gonna stream it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Did your bandmates have weird requirements in the green room, asking for a friend? Lots of love.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We didn't have M&Ms without the green ones or whatever Van Halen did. And no, we had. This was to tell you how long ago it was. The premium liquors were Jack Daniel's Absolute Vodka and Jameson's Irish Whiskey. We had those three, right? That was our every room, or every time we played a concert, we had those three, and then I think we were Corona. We all like Corona pretty much, and then we'd have some English beer also. But no, we didn't have anything crazy.
I never made it to the green room. It would have been fabulous to see. I did get to meet Willie Nelson once on a bus.
Yeah.
He was a very polite.
Yeah.
He was a little. He loved his weed.
Oh yeah. He's
So
such a nice guy, and his kids are so talented too, man.
so you probably know people in the business. Well, let's talk about your wines.
Okay.
So Paul Cullen wines, is that what they're called?
Yeah, Paul Cullen wines, and they're all from Italy. We have 3 different producers. These are all friends of mine that I've created relationships with over the years, even before I did this, which is, I think, 4 years ago is when I got my import license. So I'm an actual importer also.
Okay.
But I only import my wines with my guitar label on it,
So we talk about this, sir. We're going to talk about the impact of tariffs on your business in a second here.
Yeah. So when I got my import license, well, let me back up a little bit. I had California wine about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So you have to have your basic permit for the United States with the TTB in order to have your own private label shipped from California to Delaware or wherever. So I was using my friends' wines for my in-home dining, And then I'm like, you know what? I wonder what it would be how hard it would be to get an import license. So you have to have your basic permit, which I already have, and that never goes away. And then, so I went online and I had it in like 2 weeks. And yeah, it was crazy. And then I'm like, all right. So then I contacted my one producer in Piedmont. And I said, hey, this is my idea. Here's the labels. And she said, oh, we'll definitely do wine for you. So we started out with 2, a white and a red. And now we have 7 total between three vineyards.
Where do your wines come from? Like what region?
So Piedmont, there's 5 from Piemonte, or Piedmont, and then 1 from Emilia Romagna, which is Lambrusco, which is the real Lambrusco, which is dry, fizzy, cold red wine.
Okay.
And then I have a Prosecco from the Veneto.
We should have done a tasting this morning. Can you show a couple of your packages? Do you have them available in front of you by chance?
I don't have my bottle. Handy.
I'll make sure that when we stream this, when we actually stream it on our podcast, we'll show your wines.
Okay.
And can people order wine direct from you?
Yeah, that's the cool part is with the help of Brandon, we're in 43 states. So you can go online and buy it online, have it delivered to your door if you're one of those 43 states.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, there we go. That's my wife.
See, this is what I love about this podcast. See, you got the helper. Thank you, Paul's wife.
Yeah, that's Bonnie. Yep.
Thank you, Bonnie. And
So
Bonnie,
that's the original. That's the original artwork.
Okay.
And the rosé is a rosé color, and Lambrusco's purple. So we're changing the colors now, but this is the original one.
I have to ask, you probably designed the artwork too. You're an artist as well.
No, I had somebody from Denver do the guitar itself, and I designed the rest of it. Yeah.
So Brandon, so you got them open in 43 states. How in the heck can anybody get in 43 states? I can't even get a distributor to answer the phone nowadays.
That's the beauty of e-commerce. That's really where Paul and I first met. I was working over at Speakeasy, and he came and saw the opportunity and said, hey, I want to put my wines online. So then there's a whole ecosystem behind that. How do we drive traffic to his website? How do we get the story out? And then once people have it liquid to lips, hopefully we're going to have some return customer base. And then we'll hit them with, hey, here's Paul Cullen's book. If you want to book, if you like his wines and you want to book him as a in-person chef, he'll come travel and sing a song for you in your home. So
you'll go anywhere. You're not just in the Maryland area. You'll go anywhere in the world.
Well, that's the lion's share is, the Mid-Atlantic, Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. But I've been flown to Costa Rica to cook for people. The Anderson Windows people flew me. The Pernod Ricard group flew me to Denver or to Aspen to cook for their major sales team. And,
wow.
I've been to California. I've cooked all up and down the East Coast, Ohio. Probably about 15 or 16 states.
So Alicia Vargo says hello, by the way. That's my partner.
Hi, Alicia.
And I'm sure she's probably on your website right now booking some type of great event for all of us to get together.
Yeah.
Another question's coming in. Brandon, you're monitoring LinkedIn Live. But again, hey, Jeff, if you want to dial in, you have the number, man. Come on in and say hello. But he says, Paul, do you have a blend wine that you were involved from conception with the winery? If so, can you share that experience?
Yeah. So we have one blend, which is the Rock and Rosso, and it's Nebbiolo, Barbera, and Cabernet Sauvignon, which is an interesting grape from Italy because it's not widely grown. And it's in oak for 12 months. So we sit down and we take the different percentages and try them and see which one we like the best, and of course at the end, good thing we write it down because we drank a lot of wine, and then so I picked on the final say I picked the percentages of each grape, and that's what goes in the bottle.
I'm not really a wine guy, but I had the opportunity to try all of Paul's wines while he was in Charleston a couple of weeks ago. For $20, I don't think you're going to find much better.
So you're in the $19.99 kind of price range?
Yep.
He says, don't get high on your own supply. Lots of love.
Oh, I like that. That should be on a T-shirt. Brandon.
There you go. Screenshot it, Paul. I
Yeah,
just put it on
don't get
the-
high on your own supply.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
hey, Jeff is a brilliant marketer himself from Brand Artica. So, thanks, Jeff. I'm hoping other people join in as well. But let's talk about kind of where you're at right now. So with these tariffs, right? So you kind of you're an importer, so obviously you're probably stressing a lot. And I'll just give you a real story. I work with a couple Indian brands that we're shipping in, and literally I was going to leave the conversation and put like a 50% tariff on them, and by that afternoon the tariff went away for 90 days.
Yeah.
So, like, what's going on in your world with wine with the tariffs?
Well, the same thing. There's a base tariff of 10%, right? From what I gather so far. Now, obviously, he dropped the 25 or the 20, whatever that was. So we're going to have to pay an extra 10, and I'm not very happy about that because I'm already on skinny margins because I want to keep my wine. At a reasonable price.
Accessible
right?
at a reasonable price. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Just so you know, while we were talking, I gave all your listeners 25% off on their first order of wine, and all they have to put in is SAM, S-A-M.
Brilliant. I'm worth 25%, people. Did you hear that? And I'll actually put that when we play the podcast. So on first order,
Okay.
25%. So I'll roll that out. And
Yep.
then
The SAM in capital letters, S-A-M. Yeah. Anyways.
I got some excitement out here. Woohoo! I was going to order the blend. Love it. So
awesome. So it sucks, right? I mean, it really does. And but he did just have the Prime Minister of Italy over, and maybe they'll work out something, in the long run. But I'm going to have to pass it on, whatever it is, I'm going to have to pass it on, even if it's minimal, just to cushion the blow of it,
you pay that at the port, right? Before
Correct.
you take possession
Correct.
of it.
Yeah, and I just ordered. I was kind of waiting to see because I heard the 25 was coming up, and so I waited. And not that it would have mattered because it takes a while to ship it. They're bottling it right now actually, so I should have it in like 45 days.
So talk about supply. Are you bringing in more supply to cover yourself for a time period? I know a lot of people are looking at that.
Well, see, it's a juggling act. Again, I'm the juggler because I don't want too much wine in America because I have to pay for the storage, right?
Yeah.
So then that brings my bottom line down. But I don't want to run out either. So it's like I said, it's a juggling game. So I mean, if I was a bigger company, and have my own warehouse and all that, I mean, it'd be a little bit different story. But our distributor in Delaware stores all our wine, and then we take it to DC. So all our wine's shipped out of DC, and so I take it over. They put it in the warehouse. Order comes in, and they're amazing. Within 24 hours, you get the wine shipped. People in DC have actually got it the same day they ordered, which is pretty cool. So.
Wow.
Yeah, the other company we were with back when the shipping was just like 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever. Now these guys are on it, man. They ship it within 24 hours.
Yeah,
Can people win like an event with you possibly? If I go online and order your wine, is there an opportunity for me to get you to come to my home and go into some type of drawing? I'm just putting an idea out there. I'm trying to get you to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've done that for nonprofits, but this would be for profit.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Where do you live?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, wow. That's a long way from Bradenton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been everywhere. That's a
Well-
that's a podcast, and you'll have me on your podcast, and I'll tell you my journey.
Yeah, I mean, I go anywhere. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I could put something together, win a dinner. What do you think, Brandon?
I love it. Hey, I'll hop on a flight. Paul, one thing I want you to hit on though is your foundation, because I think it's a really kind of not end cap, but it really puts a bow on everything that you're doing, and then also inspiring the next generation to maybe do something similar. Maybe not
Sure.
be a rock star, but
Yeah. Well, what I found out, I was just talking, I donate one of my marketing plans or marketing things I did when I first started doing in-home dining was I gave it dinner for 8 to nonprofits, and they would show up on the screen. Have Paul Cullen come to your house, and we figured in the first 3 years I raised over $200,000 for our local nonprofits. So when I did the math, I'm like, I wonder. I've always kind of had in the back of my mind to have my own nonprofit, and we went for it 4 years ago, and it's called Paul Cares, and we help young adults and kids in the culinary musical arts. Good example is we're sending our chef in training who works for us at my concert venue, which is run by Paul Cares. So I have a concert venue. We just had Stanley Jordan, and we have John Ford Coley coming up. He wrote Love Is the Answer. And so we have really, really good musicians come on regional, national, worldwide. We started Paul Cares to help kids, and young adults follow their dreams. So it's kind of like, for me, it's I'm finally where I want to be in life, or where I feel like I've done really well again, that I can pay it forward, and you have to be in a good place in order to do that. So
so you've helped these young. How long have you been doing this for?
We started COVID year, so we really didn't get anything going until the following year. So 21, so 4 years.
So what's been your greatest success story from that you helped someone that along the way?
Well, yeah, I was talking. So two chefs that worked in our kitchen. Sorry, I got off track, but they go to Del Tech, which is our local technical school for culinary, and their school goes every year to Italy, and for 10 days. So we 2 years ago we paid for Mitchell to go on the trip to Italy and immerse himself in the Italian culture. He came back. He ended up going to Johnson and Wales College, which is one of the best food colleges and schools in the country. And then this year we're sending Alondra. She leaves in like 30. She told me yesterday 33 days. So she's got 32 days, and she's going to Italy with her class. And Paul Cares is taking care of everything for her, because she wouldn't be able to go, because she's got a daughter, she's married, but she wouldn't have had the money to go, So anyways, those are two of our favorite ones, because we got to send them to Italy.
How do you participate in your foundation? How do we help support your efforts?
Just go on website. You can get it from my site, but it's Paul Cares, K with a K,
Okay.
DE, which is Delaware, paulcaresde.org. And
you want to type that up, Brandon, while he's talking, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, so you can do through that. We've awarded in the last 3 years $60,000 to help kids and young adults.
Oh wow!
And it's a business, because Paul Cares runs the concert venue that we have that holds 60 people, and so it's we just had our concert for the kids, which is our 4th annual, and I think we netted like $45,000, which I'm really proud of, And I have a band called Bad River. It's me and the guy from the Little River Band. And
you have wait a minute. You got the Little River. You have a guy. You have a partner. What's the name of the group?
Bad River. So it's Bad Company meets Little River Band.
So my wife's favorite is the Little River Band. Every time a song comes on, she goes, "That's a Little River Band," and she just wants to think it's a Little River Band. Now I got to get. Do you have any? You have like an album, or can I stream you guys?
No, we just play. We play like once a quarter. It's Tony Sciutto is the keyboard player. He played in Little River Band, and then I played at Bad Company, and so we get together and play, like I said, once a quarter. And it's great, because I play a Bad Company song, and then we do a Little River Band and a Bad Company. And
do you have any recordings you can send over to me?
Unless there's something on, they might have recorded some video from when we did our concert for the kids a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that is.
Let's see if I can find some. Yeah, it's a really, really good band, and I love it, because I had to go learn Little River Band songs, which I never had to learn before. So
Oh, well, both are just such positive. I might go for a walk today, but I'll do like the Bad River Band or the.
Yeah, yeah. And we all have like the singer works for Bogle Vineyards. He's been with Bogle in California for 20 years. His name is Robbie LeBlanc. He has albums out in Europe, and he's a great singer, a great friend of mine. And then we have an 18-year-old drummer, and yeah, so it's a really fun band. But well, my point was we're all so busy doing what we do, we can only kind of get together every once in a while and play, when everybody's schedule allows.
So let me ask you this. I'm looking at your website, and I see a blog there. Like, what do you like? So, what do you blog about? Like, what are you talking about nowadays?
Well, food, wine, and music, and travel.
All right. So you're talking about what's hot, what's not, what's coming, what you should be looking for, like.
Yeah, a little bit. I have
what's
wrote
right
a little
now?
bit about the tariffs. I think I'm one of my
Okay.
blogs, and yeah, and it's all good, information. Like if you want to learn like about Lambrusco, like the real Lambrusco, I've got a really nice blog about that.
my new
Because
favorite.
Lambrusco was known as Riuniti way back when, which was crap. It was
It
sugary.
says Lambrusco is not your mom's. So
Yeah.
I need to read. I
Yeah.
need to read that, and then grandmom's. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and my producer for the Lambrusco, they're celebrating their 100th year, 2025, as a family making Lambrusco.
Well, I grew up on Lambrusco, with my parents, right?
Yeah,
So,
me too.
I turned 60 this week, so happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to
So I'm
you.
proudly displaying my age here, Brandon. So you'd be my son, brother. But Lambrusco was a thing. Is that what the bot, the bottle, the Lambrusco bottles? Do you remember that, or that was it different?
No, it's the regular Lambrusco bottle. It doesn't look like Riuniti.
I had it for the first time, and maybe I'm getting old, but it was my absolute favorite. But Alicia had a question on LinkedIn, and this all kind of ties back to kind of some of the marketing aspects of it. She said, "Brandon, can you take us through the brief steps of how you spin stories? What do you look for when a new client comes to you?" And what Paul just mentioned, the in-home dining, the rock star aspect, the wines, the history of the wines, where they're coming from, the Paul Cares aspect of it. When your bottle is on a shelf, you only have the label to tell that story. So if you have the passion, you have the stories, more than just, hey, I wanted to start a wine brand or start a spirit brand. The story behind it, and then using content like this on podcasts or short form video to really get your story out. Those are the kind of brands that I work for or like to work with. But more importantly, those brands are going to have the most success out in the market because customers can now connect with the brand rather than just the label on the bottle. So Paul's got a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to package up, put into a book, and then educate the market on who he is and what his products are.
So you and Paul have this relationship that you're building like this ecosystem around him. I'm thinking like in terms of because he has like his foundation. I think it's a foundation. Your support. Like the people like in the music community, future chefs. You have your winery. You're a chef. You do cooking over here. Now you're a writer down here. So you're basically just bringing that together to make sure people understand who Paul is, the brand. Paul, are you the brand?
Yeah, I guess I am.
They're making an influencer out of him.
It's a circle, and I have all of these things around me. But it started with me being a bad company, then becoming a chef, and then my own wine, my nonprofit, travel. I've been doing travel for 10 years. That's been 11 years, actually. This is my 11th year. We took 170 people on vacation last year.
Well, you were talking about you're going to Cuba. So before we started, so talk about this. So you do trips with people.
Correct. So we work with an amazing travel agent that ends up being a great friend of mine, Accent on Travel. So we get together, we figure out what we want to do. They have all these things in their wheelhouse, whether it's a river cruise or we do a tall sailing ship, which holds 200 people, has 55 sails, and we're sailing in September from Rome to Sicily and back. And then we do curated wine trips. We'll go to Gambino Vineyards in Sicily and do a lunch with a tasting, and they're all wine, music, food centric trips. And then last year we got to go to Cuba. Well, we tried to go a while back and it didn't work, but so it was so amazing. And I played with musicians, I cooked with chefs. Everybody just had an awesome time. So we're doing it again. In fact, a week from today, I'll be in Cuba with 30 people. So
I'm gonna find that video of you in the youth orchestra because it is so.
oh yeah, so I played with
Oh
that.
yeah, we can stream here. Let's show that that video. Do you have any video? Actually, while you're trying to find that, do you have any video of you like at your like wine dinner so people can see what that looks like? Do you have anything that you've done?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any video from the actual dinners themselves. But I've got some cool videos of me being on TV talking about my wines, on
Yeah.
Fox TV in Baltimore. And
Oh, can you show that? Can you show one of
Yeah,
those
they're all-
videos? Oh,
they're all on the website.
okay.
Check
I
out.
don't know if it's easier for me to do it or for you.
Yeah, you can
Yeah, I
share. You
just
just
put it in the
hit share. You hit share on the bottom. See where it says share, and
Yeah.
you can share presentation.
Well,
You
let me
can,
let me share the video first.
Yeah. So this was in a church from 1900, and it was 16-piece string orchestra called the Cuban Youth Orchestra, and they charted out Shooting Star, and then I got up there and sang it, and in this church that was like been around since early 1900.
Let's see here. Is it? Are you showing it?
Oh, you guys can't see it.
No, you gotta show your screen. And I got it live so people can hear it too. So
Is it not working?
Please. Let me share. I'll just share my screen.
should pop up. This is the beauty about going live. So we got to see the video now. Here we go.
You guys get to see everything else on my desktop too.
Yeah. Do you have the volume? To put the volume on there.
Oh,
There we
Oh,
go.
there it is.
Hit the unmute. Can you hit the unmute or no?
I don't think it's gonna work, but the link is in there.
I'll go find some videos and
Yeah.
and drop in.
That one's a cool one. That's on my Instagram.
Oh, so you're on more than just so can people find you across all social media
Yeah,
channels?
it's all so paulcullen.rocks is my website, but all my Instagram is Paul Cullen Rocks, and my Facebook page is Paul Cullen Rocks also.
Okay, like here. So here's Instagram.com.
Oh, there's the reel. Yeah.
Yep.
So you can everybody that we tried to play earlier. So I apologize that we had some technical difficulties. Well, let's transition a little bit. So we talked a little bit about the tariffs. Do you have wines in the USA?
Yeah, I just actually they're sitting on my counter. I haven't tasted them yet. So
Okay.
we're diversifying, which I thought about doing already or before, but then with the tariff situation, I reached out to some people in California, and I've got samples coming in, over the next week or two, and we'll pick one or two, and we'll do a couple California wines.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And they're shiners, so they're already bottled, ready to go. So the process could take a couple weeks instead of, a couple months, being from Italy. So that the quickness of getting it from California is going to be very beneficial.
Do the wineries, when you go to find a winery, do they actually label, bottle, cork it, everything else
Yep,
for you?
they do everything.
So
Yeah.
that's basically you just white label some of their wines, or they actually make a particular profile of wine for you, or is it a combination of all?
Well, the single varietal ones, no, because it is what it is. But the blends, we're a part of that process. With California wines, they're already in the bottle, ready to go.
Yeah.
So I just got to taste them and say, yep, we want that one. And then I do the artwork for the label. This is cool because you can't really tell, but this is embossed. The guitar is, so it's shiny, and it really sticks out on the shelf. Like if it's sitting on a shelf and the light coming down on it, you definitely catches your eye.
Oh, wow.
So we'll change up the colors for the California wine. We might do a reverse one where it's a black background with a colored guitar.
Okay.
Just trying to stay in the, in the same, the same brand, the same logo ish, and I just changed up the colors.
Got it. Brandon, from what you're doing with Paul, how do you bring like a new item to market with Paul? What's the process there?
I mean, everything is going to circle back to online first. I mean, it's easy to get liquid lips. You can service the entire country. You don't need a ton of distribution. And then from there, we're just going to figure out the data behind it. Who's purchasing, what SKUs they like, where they're purchasing from. And then once we analyze that data, maybe we're going to make a pivot to more reds, or maybe it's whites, and maybe it's the Northeast versus the Southeast. There could be a completely different customer base that we're going after currently that might not be buying the wines, but with the data from e-commerce, we're going to quickly figure that out. And then from there, we're going to build kind of the brand around solving a customer problem. What do they like? What do they not like? And then pick up more distribution from there, because there's a really good story. And, Paul's going to be out there in the market doing these tastings and kind of meet and greets. So there's such a big opportunity here for Paul to really become a national brand pretty quickly, but everything is being started online, slow, methodical, using some digital marketing, doing some PR campaigns like we're doing with your podcast, and then growing in a little bit more data-centric vantage point.
So you're talking about data. So when you talk about like what kind of data, like I'm online, I bought the product. What kind of data are you talking about when you're talking about data?
So you can get basically whatever information you want. Somebody's name, email address, their demographic, their geographic information, what time they purchased. And then once you have enough of that data, then you just aggregate it. You kind of figure out, all right, well, there's a big pocket of people in the Pacific Northwest. Let's think about picking up distribution in that area, because clearly there's an audience that's buying our product. So then we reach out to companies like Bev Assets to help find us distribution, frontline sales support, boots on the ground. But we know that that's going to be a viable market for us with the data that's coming in through the e-commerce shop.
Yeah, I can tell you, Paul and Brent, I was at Walmart on Thursday in Bentonville. And met with the three buyers. So one that does the East, the West, the head buyer, and then their boss came in, the senior vice president of merchandising. And it's interesting is what the number one thing is a retailer is interested in when you talk to them?
Pull through success, prior success before you're even on the shelf.
The dollar, the revenue per store per week that item can generate, right? So it ties back to what you're saying about the e-commerce thing, because if I could go in there in the story and we asked the question, we said, what is your average, dollars per store per week? And it was $35. So I'm giving everybody free inside information here, $35. So you think about, you're selling $20 bottles of wine and you're doing it through e-commerce, which you talked about. Like, what are you averaging in terms of purchasing, in terms of velocity? Because maybe there's a story there, because a distributor wants to know that too, Paul.
Yeah, as far as the online sales. Yeah. I mean, it's been good, but yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
I'm just saying that. Well, there's, regardless of what the what the actuals are, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of tweak the cart value for the customer. So free shipping on 3 bottles or more. So now we're enticing the customer to buy 3 bottles. That's what we want our average order value to be. And then what we're going to think about doing is adding some merchandise to that too. So it's not just a bottle of wine, but now you're getting signed glasses or some glassware. So there's a lot of different ways that you can slowly tweak your top performing SKUs by just adding those little marketing incentives. And then using the email marketing behind it and the social media and telling the brand story to really get the messaging out there to drive traffic to your website to generate more sales.
So once people come to your website, so I have a friend, Jason Sieper, which owns Wine Keepers out in California, and he says that most people that come to his website, they eventually don't. They're like, they've had them for 10 plus years. Do your people, they've been sticking with you? What's the sticking? Are people sticking as they come to your social media piece, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think they are, because we're always updating it, and and people want it, and they go to my website for a number of reasons, whether it's because of the nonprofit or the wine or the travel. So we're always engaging, we're getting people come to the website. They might not necessarily go there for wine, but when they leave, they know about the wine.
Right. I mean, because you bring a lot of value in terms of what you two are doing with this 360 degree of marketing around you is pretty amazing. Because I can go to your Instagram and I can book you to come do a concert with me. I can go and make a donation to your foundation to help kids. And heck, I can book a trip in Cuba. And meanwhile, I'm ordering my wine online, right?
Right.
So the value that you're bringing is pretty incredible. But is every time I learned this lesson. I posted about this, and it was probably my best post I've done my entire LinkedIn thing. But I was walking outside, and there was this lemonade stand with two little girls.
It's a good post. It's a good post.
I drove by it and I said, no, I'm not interested. Then later on, I took my dog and I was going out for a walk and I had my headphones on and I was like, no, I'm not interested, right? The little girl proceeded to walk up to me and she offered me a dog treat.
Uh-huh.
I took my headphone out and I said, how much does it cost? And she said, it's free.
Right.
So
Free
she
with
gave me the
benefits.
free dog treat, right?
Mhm.
Well, guess what I did is I spent
Bought
a buck
lemonade.
on a half a cup of lemonade.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. So that's why I'm asking within this thing, what is the value that you're bringing every time? So because people, good, right, or indifferent, people want some value for free, and then once they get something for free, I think they're willing to invest with you. Do you do anything like that? Is there any, I mean, you did. You just gave our entire audience 25% off
Yeah.
their next purchase.
Well, we also have, the original book is called From Bad Company to Good Company that we're going to redo and actually publish a book. It was only an ebook. So that's available on the website, and you click on it. It's a free download. Of course, we capture your email address because we do. But you get a free book. You get the free download, which has 25 recipes and,
So wait a minute. I can give you, I wasn't paying attention. I can give you my email address and I get a free book with recipes.
Correct.
All right, can someone put that in there so I can stream this online? So everybody, did you just hear that? Your dog treat has arrived. I got one for you. I got a free book from Paul Cullen.
It's on the bottom of paulcullen.rocks. It's on the very bottom.
That is absolutely brilliant. I've been thinking about it a lot because I do a lot of posts. I like to give, and I just enjoy it. But at the same time, look, I'm on LinkedIn to do business. I mean, that is the reality. I love people to come stop by, but it's like that's an excellent lead magnet to get people to come in and stop by, right?
Mhm.
Well, and the whole plan is to redo the book with a lot of rock and roll stories and Paul's travel and updated
More recipes.
recipes and wine tastings with it. I think it's going to be kind of like an Anthony Bourdain rock star twist to it. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it.
So I'm happy, I'm happy to introduce you to a couple people we know in that sector if they want to do some type of reality show. I don't know how that works. So Jeff just signed up, by the way. So he said I don't think he says this, but he's probably expecting his book. But if you can put it in the comments, Brandon. I'm not a great typer, so when I'm trying to talk, let's with the last 10 minutes or so, Paul. What are some things that you want to talk about, and Brandon, you too, that you want to convey to everybody out there that's watching this today?
For me, I'm just trying to hang on. I got so many things going on, but the main focus is, of course, in-home dining, because that drives everything, right? That drives the bus. And then in that bus is the wine business, which is really important for us to be successful. Got time, got money. It's got all these things involved in it. And I feel really good about where it is. It's a process. We're learning as we go, right? I've made some mistakes financially and, because I thought it was going to be a certain way, but, we pivoted and I'm out of that, and now we have a very good system, of ordering online and shipping and all that. It's all going really well and really smooth. And as far as distribution, we're only in Delaware as far as restaurants and retail. And yes, we could go to Maryland, which is a possibility. But it's hard for me because I'm the face of it, and you already know what I do, right? It's hard for me to do ride withs in other states, and that's why the online direct to consumer makes more sense for me, is that I could do it from my desktop, talk about my wines, do a wine tasting, play music for people at their house, put me up on their big screen, while they're drinking my wines, So we have a lot of ideas on how we can, have me part of their party without actually being in Arizona, you know what I mean? While they're drinking my wine. So
I want to give a shout out to ExcelPay being the platform that's making all that possible. But Sim, I want to ask you a question. Having been in the industry for as long as you have, having seen all these startup brands come and go in fads, without even trying the wine, but knowing that Paul is e-commerce first and has all of these things surrounding, obviously he's a great badass guy. Why would you not buy this brand?
So there's a lot to be said about there's a lot to be said about celebrity. And matter of fact, we talked about this at Walmart the other day. They have a lot of celebrity brands, and you are a celebrity, and you said it that you get people in because you were with bad company, right? So
Yeah.
you're using your celebrity to do that. But what's really important is after the celebrity is done and gone, and I mean no disrespect because you are a celebrity, is what is the value you're going to bring, and you're doing that, with your, the entertaining, the trips, the book and the wines. There's a lot that goes. It's more than just the wine; it's the experience. And there's so many people that come up with a brand, but they don't have nothing else behind it. It's just I got a brand, and that's it. I got a label and I got a brand, but there's nothing behind it. People want to know about the experience, and what you're creating is the experience around Paul Cullen Wines, Paul Cullen, entertainment, Paul Cullen, the chef. That is what people are interested in. I do some advising for a little company, and there's three things they talk about: distillate, distiller, and home place. So if you're clear on those, whatever those three things are, Brandon, and maybe we should talk about what those are that you want people to know, to be really clear, because that's your purpose, right? And if you have that, people are going to pay attention. That those three buyers from Walmart, they have the $35 rule, and they're going to want velocity out of their store. But before you even get to the meeting, there has to be some substance behind your brand. And I believe you have that.
Yeah.
It's got every single piece to it. Paul's got such a great story and all the right pieces in place. So my job at Rogan Right, helping Paul just kind of get the exposure is just that. We're going to be doing a lot of digital marketing, PR, press releases, hopefully a book tour soon, maybe a musician brand ambassador program, getting people to the website, showing the velocity and the pull through online. Then we're going to take that data to hopefully the Walmarts and the Costcos of the world, saying, look, here's the return on ad spend, here's cost of customer acquisition. Why are we not on your shelf? Clearly there's a brand here outside of just the wine.
Yeah, you have the story. You got to build the velocity in those markets, and then you got to get into distribution. You got to use someone like us or someone like us or whatever to get feet on the street, because in the day you got to get that item moving off the shelf in the consumer's hands. Liquid to lips is everything. So, and then look, quality, consistency, and authenticity, those three things. Jack Daniels talks about those things. That's why I leave him up behind me on my shoulder every day. He's makes me think about that. But if you have good quality, it's always consistent with buy it, and then you being the authentic person behind it, your price is worth the goods charged. And that's the story of Brown-Forman or Jack Daniels over and over again, Paul.
Right.
So first of all, you're going to have to play a closing song. So I'm just going to warn you.
Okay.
You can do that. Okay.
Right. Yep.
But what do you want to leave? And then Brandon, you too. So we'll start with Brandon. We'll start with you. Then we'll start with Paul with his closing comments. I'll make a comment, and then Paul, you can play some music, and we'll end the podcast.
Okay.
I guess for me, it really, and I've touched on it a couple times. The brands that I like to work with have the brand story. They're passionate. They're salt of the earth people. It's not just your bottle on a shelf and the label. You got to have good juice behind it. But the reason why people are especially the younger generations, are starting to gravitate, have this gravitas towards these low and no alc brands or the better for you, it's because of the entire story. It's the omni-channel 360 marketing that goes behind it, short form content, getting to know the owner's story and their passions. People aren't just buying a brand via the label anymore. So brands like Paul's, I think, are going to be the most successful in the next 5 to 10 years.
I agree. Paul?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, before Paul, I tell you what. Before you go, Paul, because you're gonna do the closing today. You're gonna tell everybody, about your closing thoughts. Get the guitar ready, get it tuned up, ready to go. But I had to call it Alicia because I forgot her last week, and she is my closest friend and ally. She refers to me as her work husband, and she's my work wife. She says it's good luck to stop by every lemonade stand. You never pass a lemonade stand. Cardinal rule for long. So I hear you loud and clear. I will never pass a lemonade stand again. But I didn't. I did. They enticed me. So Paul, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for the last 11 or 12 years since I started doing this. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Although some days, it'd be nice to be able to rest up a little bit, but whatever. And I'm really excited about where everything's going, because when it started out 10, 11 years ago, it was, it was okay. And then it's just taken off. Good example is my trips. My first year, I did 18 people on one cruise. And last year we did 170 people on 3 different trips. So wow. That kind of tells you the upward trajectory that we're on, Yeah. And same with the wine. We started out with 2 wine and two bottles, white and a red, and now we have 7. We weren't online 3 years ago, and now we're online. So, and I feel really good about that, and especially talking to you guys because, the brand is so big. Paul Cullen brand is a lot. There's a lot there. And it could be somebody goes on a trip with me, or somebody buys wine, or somebody does in-home dining, somebody donates to my nonprofit, or you do all of them, right? My circle was this big at one time, now it's that big, and
yeah,
and we can't wait for it to get bigger. I don't need a bigger head. I just need to get bigger, and being successful in the wine business we're definitely focused on that part, and because that has to be successful, for me down the line, and for the short term and the long term, so.
Well, the value you bring is tremendous. Thank you so much for stopping by Drink Up today, and I'd love you to put a closing song in for everybody to hear, and then we'll just wrap up and ask y'all to remain on the line, you and Brandon, but then we'll say goodbye to everybody after you sing your song.
Well, thanks so much for having me, and Brandon. This is I love doing stuff like this. I love reaching out to people and getting to know more people, so more people know my story. So this is a great way to do it. So I thank you for that.
Your network is your net worth. Can't stress that enough. And I know yep. Sam, you live by the same.
Yep, no doubt. Right, here we go.
Yes.
Company. Always on the run. Destiny is a rising sun. Yeah. I was born a 6-gun in my hand, behind the gun, made my final stand. Yeah. It's what they call me. Bad company, I can't deny. Bad company. To the day I die. Woo! Truly to the day I die.
Thanks everybody for joining us on Drink Up. Happy Easter, everybody. Thanks, Paul, and thanks, Brandon.
Thanks,
until next week.